CNN political analyst Joe Lockhart, who also is the former White House press secretary for that, great humanitarian Bill Clinton, the rapist in chief. Here's what Joe Lockhart said. I'm watching tonight because it's important. But I don't have to watch this snot-nosed, entitled kid from Kentucky. End quote. They still don't get it. Which is why they're going to lose big in November. They still don't know why they lost in 2016. They still don't get it. They haven't learned from their mistakes. Nick Sandmann and his fantastic attorney, Lynn Wood, took CNN and the Washington Post to the legal woodshed and beat them. And Nick Sandmann's taken a number of the other bought-off lamestream fake media outlets to the legal woodshed and will beat them just as bad. He's an inspiration for every American of how not to be canceled by the deep state thugs. Another person that the deep state has tried to cancel and has failed is General Flynn. He will not be silenced, no matter what they have done to him. They've persecuted him for coming up on 4 years. They've persecuted his family. And if not for his phenomenal attorney and the Flynn family courage and General Flynn's courage, he would be canceled. Recently, he wrote a letter to America, and I want to read it to you because, again, the deep state's fake media will never present this. Here's what he wrote. We are witnessing a vicious assault by enemies of all that is good, and our president is having to act in ways unprecedented in decades, maybe centuries. The biblical nature of good versus evil cannot be discounted as we examine what is happening on the streets of America. It's Marxism in the form of Antifa and the Black Lives Matter movement versus our very capable and very underappreciated law enforcement professionals, the vast majority of whom are fighting to provide us safe and secure homes, streets, and communities. When the destiny of the United States is at stake, and it is, the very future of the entire world is threatened. As Christians, shouldn't we act? We recognize that divine providence is the ultimate judge of our destiny. Achieving our destiny as a freedom-loving nation, providence compels us to act and do our part in our communities. It encourages us in this battle against the forces of evil to face our fears head-on. No enemy on earth is stronger than the united forces of God-fearing, freedom-loving people. We can no longer pretend that these dark forces are going to go away by mere prayer alone. Prayers matter, but action is required. This action is needed at the local, state, and federal levels. Action is also required in the economic, media, clerical, and ecclesiastical realms. Decide how you can act within your abilities. Stand up. State your beliefs. Be proud of who you are and what you stand for, and face head-on those community, quote, leaders, end quote, thugs, who are willing to allow dark forces to go beyond peaceful protests and destroy and violate your safety and security. Churches and houses of worship must return to normal. We invite everyone of goodwill to not shirk their responsibilities and instead act in a fraternal fashion. If for no other reason or with no other ability, act in a spirit of charity. We cannot disrespect or disregard natural law along with our own religious liberties and freedoms. I am witnessing elderly people lose their connection to all that is good in their lives. Connections to their faith, their families, their individual freedoms, especially the simple act of attending church, something they've been doing for decades. Let us not be intimidated or fear those who cry out that we are in the minority. We are not. Good is always more powerful and will prevail over evil. However, evil will succeed for a time when good people are divided from each other and their personal lives, children away from their teachers, preachers away from their congregations, customers away from their local businesses. America will never give in to evil. Americans work together to solve problems. We do not and should not ever allow anarchy and the evil forces behind it to operate on any street in our nation. No one should have to fear for their very life because some dark, disturbed force is challenged by the very existence of what America stands for. We are, quote, one nation under God, end quote, and it is our individual liberties that make us strong, not liberties given to our government. Our government has no liberty unless and until, quote, we the people, end quote, say so. God bless America, and let's stand by everything that was and is good in our lives, in our communities, and in our country. Otherwise, America, as the true North Star for humanity, will cease to exist as we know it. General Michael Flynn. Very similar message that Nick Sandmann delivered. Very different message than the message Joe Biden delivered at the Democrat National Convention. Frankly, let's face it, the Democrat National Convention just didn't go on for a week. It's been going on for 3 months. Those are the globalists, the deep staters, the Marxists, the socialists, what has become the Democrat Party. They've been having a convention every night for the past 3 months. In the streets of Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, New York, Atlanta, you name it. The rioting, the looting, the death, the destruction, that is Joe Biden's party. Those are his foot soldiers. The same foot soldiers of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. And what was the message Biden delivered at his little party that he slurped out of his basement for? That America was in a, quote, season of darkness. And the best the globalists can do is prop up Joe Biden, who's become the political equivalent of the movie Weekends with Bernie. It's Weekends with Joe. And what was his big speech that everybody said in the bought-off lamestream fake media, a tentacle of the deep state, that was so fantastic? It was about describing America as being in a season of darkness. And they said, oh, his speech went without hitch. We talked about this last week. In the conclusion part of his, the finale, the grand finale, what did he say? Quote, there's never been anything we've been able to accomplish when we've done it together, end quote. What? And they believe Joe Biden is their ticket to canceling Donald Trump. Well, the fake Russian collusion hoax didn't work. The Ukraine hoax didn't work. The impeachment hoax didn't work. The COVID that was sent over by the technocracy from China, part of the deep state, well, that didn't work to get rid of him and cause civil unrest. Then they unleashed their foot soldiers in Black Lives Matter, that their founders, one of which, Patrice Cullors, in 2015 described Black Lives Matter as, well, we're a bunch of Marxist terrorists. You think? Ask the freedom-loving people that are left in Minneapolis, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, New York, or Kenosha, Wisconsin. So their latest move to cancel Donald Trump is Joe Biden. Well, they're having trouble. Big trouble. It's only going to get worse. As I mentioned, the Republican National Convention, I believe, was a sea change for millions of Americans. And the reason is because what President Trump did with that convention is he brought everyday Americans to the forefront. Not a bunch of politicians speaking. There were a couple, but not many. He brought everyday people forward to speak about freedom and liberty and what they've done to enhance every American's freedoms and liberties. The Nick Sandmanns of the world. And when President Trump spoke, we had the one line from Joe Biden. What was the one line that if I took away from President Trump's speech? Here's what he said. Quote, "America is not a land cloaked in darkness. America is a torch that enlightens the entire world." End quote. So, what was the Democrat response to that convention that was so effective at bringing forward everyday Americans to speak about freedom, liberty, and the shining light, the city on the hill that Ronald Reagan described in the 1980s? What was their response? They became hysterical. Nancy Pelosi, she wants to cancel debates. That was their response. Quote, "I don't think there should be any debates," end quote, says Pelosi, calling them an exercise in skullduggery. Well, pot calling the kettle black about skullduggery, Nancy. Nancy Pelosi has just joined the chorus of prominent Democrats trying desperately to avoid placing Joe Biden in front of the proverbial firing squad in a debate with President Trump. Quote, "I don't think there should be any debates," end quote, Pelosi said. "I wouldn't legitimize a conversation with him, nor a debate in terms of the presidency of the United States," end quote. That's the best they got. Cut and run. That's what they're all about. When the deep state gets in trouble, when their puppets get in trouble, they cut and run. It's time, folks. It's time for every American that values freedom and liberty and the future of our country to channel the same force that Nick Sandmann channeled, to stand up against the deep state, to do it ethically and honorably, and to take them on, face to face, nose to nose. Because when it comes right down to it, as Nick Sandmann proved, if you stand by your principles, if you stand embracing freedom and liberty, the Constitution, and that shining city on a hill that Ronald Reagan described as being America, the deep state will melt in front of your eyes. And in the process, when it's all said and done, we will be victorious. And the future of our country will be assured. I thank you for joining me today. You can join us every Sunday 2 to 5 Eastern on our radio show, and you can also join us on our website, davejanda.com. I hope you'll become a subscriber. $9 a month, great shows, great content, extra shows, extra content. All of our archives, all available for becoming a member at our freedom-based platform. I believe it's the biggest bang for the buck in all the internet. You will not be sorry you joined. You will get information in much greater depth than we can go on this YouTube channel or on the radio show. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thank you for your time today.